I'm Kelly Lewis.
And I'm Tiffany Jones, and we're your Revenue Insiders.
If you're enjoying the Revenue Insiders, we'd love your support. Follow us, rate, and leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. Your feedback helps us grow and reach more listeners like you. Hello, everyone. We are recording one of our episodes focused on AI disruptive startups in the go-to-market space. We've got Alok here with us today. He is the CEO and co-founder of Funnel Story. He and Funnel Story came recommended to us by you, our listeners. We had a few of you reach out and say that they've had great experiences with Funnel Story. We also love that this is in the CSM space. I, for one, get so frustrated when we try to retrofit AE tools for CSMs. So I'm excited for this conversation. So Alok, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Kelly, and thank you, Tiffany, for inviting me to your podcast. Thank you.
Yeah.
Of course.
I'd love to learn a little bit about your background. This is the first time we're getting to meet. I've been perusing the Funnel Story website. But I'd love to learn a little bit more about you and how you came about to kind of discovering this new product.
So, that's a very interesting story.
It always is.
Usually one of the things that your investors, when you're starting a company, I want to listen to you is your origin story, as they call it. Mm-hmm. I did not knew the term origin story. It came from like the Avengers, like every superhero had an origin story. And I did not think that I was a kind of a superhero, but we were trying to solve our own problem. And from there, we basically started to come into this world. Okay. But we'll use the term for the time being, origin story. So my origin story started from kryptonite. No, it started from, my word was cybersecurity. I have spent almost, so before starting this company, which I started with my co-founders around 2.5 years back, I was in cybersecurity for almost 2 decades, and actually pretty much 2 decades. And I have ran products at companies like McAfee, Imperva, Intel Security, Shift Left. And in fact, 15, 16 years back, I was a software engineer in the McAfee Avert Labs, which was McAfee Emergency Response Team, which was the team responsible for researching virus and spam mails and writing code for figuring out what is a spam, what is a virus. So that kind of a deep tech background, deep security background I came up with. Now, everybody wonders from a cybersecurity world, which is a completely different world, why did you land up in customer success, right? So this is a very accidental discovery, how most of the things are. I was in my last company, I was running products at a company called Shift Left. It is now called Quite.ai. And my CEO once, being a product manager, asked me that, hey, can you help the customer success and the sales team to get the usage and support ticket data to them, because these guys are looking for that data to understand when to approach customers, to understand their health. I said, yeah, I will provide that. All of these requests always go to product managers. So I said, okay, I will do it. And because we were a startup, he also asked me, can you also help them find a tool? So I said, okay, let me do that. So I basically reached out. We were primarily focused on customer success. So I started to talk to many of the CS players, customer success platform, as I learned the term that time. I said, okay, let me see. And I went and figured out, I won't name the names, but the usual names I got to know. And then I also talked about some of the tools for salespeople. And I asked them, okay, I will provide the data, but how much time it will take for the platform to come alive? And that time, the answer was a showstopper for me. Like I just fell numb in my hands and feet, because they said weeks to months. And I said, what exactly is week to months? I literally always say the same thing, that are they running between horses from one place to another with data? Why does it take so much time? Like in this modern world, what exactly is taking them so much time? And for a person with a cybersecurity experience, it was a shocker to me. And I will I always go back to that story where, like in 2017, I was with Imperva, which is the world's largest application firewall company, something that protects your website and your digital assets. So we had a customer called Nike. Nike used to launch those Jordan shoes. And whenever they used to launch new Jordan shoe, they used to give the first dib to their fan base. So in first hour of 2 hours, the marketing team will launch the shoe and they will say, why don't you guys go ahead? You have been loyal fans. We will give you the chance to buy the first shoes first. But guess what? In 20 seconds, the bots will come and buy all the shoes. 20 seconds flat. So like almost 100,000 shoes gone in 20 seconds.
It sounds like at camps, Tiffany. We're
Summer
trying to
camp?
register our kids right now for summer camps. And like you get on the website and you've got like 4 computers going and somehow you still can't, or Taylor Swift tickets.
Yeah.
Who
Actually,
knew this was
something
a
like
thing
that.
for shoes too?
Something like that. So same problem. But the thing was, they asked us that we are getting 1 million hits per second.
Wow.
Your job is to identify who is a human and who is a bot. And we actually delivered them solution. They were able to resolve that problem. But from that word, where we were in cybersecurity, where we were able to analyze 1 million events per second, to a word in revenue and sales ops and customer success ops, where these guys too were taking much lesser data over months. For us, it's like you walked from a very, very advanced world to a very, very old world. Like where you walked into like 15th century and I said, looks like this is a problem we would have to solve. And that's how we started this company. That was our origin story, if you will. A long story, sorry, but I hope it made sense.
No, I like it. That's super helpful. One thing I'm super curious about is there are so many of these big vendors out there today. Most of them are AE tools that are retrofitted for CSM. There are CSM specific tools like the gain sites. I'll name them, you don't have to. But I'm curious, when you think of what Funnel Story is offering outside of just time to deployment, what are the big differentiators between you and some of those bigger competitors out there?
Well, I don't consider them competitors, to be honest. I mean, it's like you are in 1925 and you are launching the first Ford. Do you consider horse as your competitor? Yes, you do. But can you compare the feature difference between a horse and a car? I mean, the only difference is, yes, they can take you from one place to another, but that's not a feature difference. But what I say is that when the technology moves in big products, the changes happens in years. But when the technology shifts comes, decades have moved in few seconds. So what has happened right now, and I tell it to everybody, I'm not comparing. If you want to go back to your product, please go. But what you're getting with us is that you are getting a state of the art where the decade-old worth of technology has been taken out and you are into a new world. You are partnering with us because you believe that you are crafting the new age of customer success and revenue ops, and you're partnering with to drive that innovation. But if I go to the specifics of it, all of these tools take months to configure. Our time to configuration is a couple of hours at most. And we don't talk to you. We don't want PS. We don't want to have your data engineer. We do not want you to learn the thing. We will learn by ourselves. We will do our homework. We are not asking you to do our homework. That's one thing. Second thing is that any of the salesperson and the customer success person will always know that there are 3 data points that determine their sales and customer success intelligence. One is how they use your product, how are they interacting with you, what is the relationship between you and the customer, and the third one is how is their business going on. For a long time, whether you are less in sales, more in customer success, it was only about the usage. It was not about conversations. It was not about business intelligence. For the first time in the last 2 years after the advent of GenAI, it is possible fundamentally to build a system which can combine all these data points. And this, we filed a patent for it. We are the only company in the industry which has filed a patent for this technology. So that's the second point. The third one is that, which is more common, that once the movement is moving away from a single person who is responsible for all the data analytics to a world where each one of the person would have their personal agent to get and to interact with data and got all of their intelligence.
Yeah. It's so interesting to hear your background in cybersecurity. I'm at HackerOne now, which is in the cybersecurity space, and we are very sensitive to our customer data. My role oversees the architecture of what our CSMs use from a data perspective. So I sit pretty uniquely in like your economic buyer seat for a tool like this today. And we use a competitor of yours. We use a few different solutions to make this happen for us. And you're right, it's very dinosaur speed and how we're able to operate. But if I put like my shiny new thing hat on, like all of what you're saying is great. Like that's super exciting and we can move really fast. When I put my like realist hat on, I know that we are part of the problem. Like we have data in places we shouldn't have it. There are some elements of our data we do not want outside of our AWS environment. We don't want anyone else to have access, but our CSMs desperately need it to make decisions. We're getting in our own way. And so when you say something like, hours to deploy, the bright and shiny hat that I wear is like, that's fantastic. I can switch overnight and like my CSMs will love me. But in reality, I start to question it because we have our own problems that I know that they're not for you to fix. So how do you guide prospects through thinking about how they clean up their own shop or do their own homework, not your homework, to make sure that a deployment time like that is feasible?
I will tell you a very different answer. Again, the plane of thinking has changed. I do not want you to clean up the data. I do not want you to bring the data to one place. The state of the art has moved that I will pick up the data from where it exists. It is my job to build relationships. It's my job to clean the data if it need to be. I just need access where it exists. Nothing. That the question that you raised is the result of a decade-old thought leadership that was done by the existing players, which wanted you to clean up and bring the data to the same place. And that entire premise now doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, interesting.
So when you say that you don't need to bring anything. In fact, let me kind of slightly deep dive on this. What are the types of data that exist? You have a conversation data, support data, meeting data, audit data. What they're asking you to say is, I do not understand your support data. I do not understand your audit data. You have to bring me that data into this format. Because that was the job of a human. With the AI agents, it is the reverse way. The AI agent knows how to look for the data it is looking for. It's its job to look at your dirty data, figure out whether data matches and whether it can clean it up and build it up. It will do that job that humans were doing and taking a lot of amount of time. The agent can finish that job in 15 seconds what humans will take a month. That's the state of the art. So all of these premises, the job has to be done a certain way. That entire thesis has overturned on its head. That's what the difference is.
Okay.
And I'm sure sometimes seeing is believing.
Seeing is what I think when you say stuff like that. It's so interesting.
I've done 150 demos in last 6 months. And this is the exact phase when I recognize it's like, I don't believe you. I'm not going to pay you, but I want to see the product.
Got called out, Tiffany.
Yeah. I want to see this product, and what happens is, this is the time when I basically tell you, okay, I will send you my calendar invite. Why don't you book some time with me, and I will show you.
I believe you.
Founder-led sales right there.
I believe you. I believe in agent AI. So I totally follow you down that path. I think what maybe I didn't say clearly is it's not bringing the data to you. It's that we have data that's the problem we have is our own self-inflicted problem, and that we have core data to inform our CSMs that we won't allow any system to touch. We wouldn't allow an AI agent to go after it. We won't allow Gemini to touch it. It doesn't matter the level of security. So we've actually created our own internal issues. And I think a lot of companies have probably built these like data security practices around what they believe is like core sensitive data that is going to make it hard to overcome this concept of like letting an AI agent go sift through it. And we have work to do internally to rethink how we might allow that to happen and allow you to start looking at it. And so it's less that new, which I totally follow and I agree. And I think that there is a lot of shifting and thinking to do there, but it's the sensitivity of data and the classification of that I think we are going to struggle with as we move into this new world.
So you would be surprised. This is a conversation that my founding team is very uniquely equipped to do, because your team, security team, and I'm not talking you specifically, but this conversation I have in a lot of people. Or in my teams or my engineers in my past decade have built the product that your team is using to do those security classification.
Yeah.
So for me, there is a problem that thing is solving. So see, most of the security protocols are designed for either compliance reason or from attack reasons. Ultimately, the policies are made, for example, for you internally, for your team internally, so that those tools help you adhere to those policies. Security question is interesting in the sense that you have to comply to a compliance requirement or you have to prevent the attack. So what I generally do a conversation about this is, and most of my early edge customers are actually heavy security companies. If you go to my website, half of our high end security companies is including identity players, including people who are in Europe's zone.
Yep.
The way we went about this is to solve the security problems with a security lens. And that's where our founding cap matters, because we tell them, I do not want to connect to your data where it lies, even though I'm saying so. Is, for example, Salesforce. Let me give an example here. Salesforce, like I do not, there is a notion of what is called attack surface. And if I connect to 10 places in your system, I will create 10 attack surface. So what I tell people and those security guys, that guys, don't give me access to all 10 of them. Minimize the access by, for example, routing the meetings data to Salesforce. It just takes an API call. Route the audit data to, for example, let's say data warehouse like Snowflake. Salesforce has a connectivity with Snowflake where it automatically will drive down the data to Snowflake. So what happens in many, many cases, I'm able to access 10 levels of dirty data just from Snowflake where they have a column level security access. Not getting deep into this, but most of the time I do a consulting with the security team of your company to help them give us access in a manner that we solve your problem while keeping their security problems intact.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
Interestingly, that became our superpower.
Yeah.
I like it, your superpower. Okay, I have two questions for you. One's a short question and one's a longer answer, probably. When I think about security and these security requirements, I always think about what is your ICP? Who are you selling to? And so I'm curious, particularly for your where you're at today. Do you see yourselves selling mostly to large strategic customers, or are you more in that mid-market commercial, depending on how you define it, range?
I will give you short answers. So there are two kind of people who need me. One who have a long tail of customers, and it is not possible for one customer success person to take care of all of them, or one account person to take care of all of them. Second are when you do a large enterprise deals and there are 10 of you talking to 10 of them, where one person, whether it's a customer success or account person, is not available in all conversations. So you need to be somewhere so that you can get a gist of it. Those are to our sweet spot. Primarily, we sell to customer success, and primarily we target VP of customer success, chief customer officer, or head of customer success. At this point of time, in some cases, we have also targeted the VP of sales, especially in PLG.
Okay. So my second question is kind of plays off of that. As you're having these conversations, are people typically replacing a solution with Funnel Story, or is this usually a net new investment for the organization?
That's a great question. I also don't know very well the answer for it. But so what has happened is that customer success platforms, historically, we were bought to do two things. One was to do this playbook based task approach, like you assign some tasks to your customer success team, what they have to do. But then there's another part was where you needed data to make sense of the business. But usually customer success platforms were not good at that. So a lot of customers will buy business intelligence platform like Tableau or Looker or something, right?
Are you talking like a health score, for example?
Like health score
or
and
like
many
a
other things.
churn risk or something?
Usage data. Yeah. We use
Usage data.
Yeah.
So what we generally do is we generally are replacing those business intelligence platform for the benefit of customer success team to begin with. So we basically take away the budget for BI for CS, but also for the health score part of the CS. So we take both of them away. What also happens is that some people chuck their customer success platform entirely, although we are not in the business of playbooks for now. We don't even believe in playbooks, we believe in some other word, but to answer your question, that's where we focus on. That's what we are replacing.
So I was looking on your website, just kind of perusing around. We're always in the market for different tools. And so I always kind of have that like buyer lens on. But one of the things that struck me as I was looking at your website, and Kelly, you mentioned this of like, we are always evolving to take AE tools and make them work for CSMs. But one of the first thoughts I had when I was looking through the Funnel Story website was that this is one step away from the bow tie model and like really tying a visual together for that like bow tie perspective and taking it all the way from a CS tool and making it a full-fledged AE or even marketing tool. Is that something that you guys have on your radar as like an expansion path in the future from a product perspective or ICP?
Actually, you caught me. Like you got a secret operation. To be honest with you, from a data point of view, I don't see difference between customer success and sales engineering. They do pretty much the same thing for shorter and longer duration.
Mm-hmm.
When you sell, you're doing the same thing. When you are doing customer success, you're doing the same thing: onboarding, getting them dry, and take them to a conversion point. One is a selling point, one is a renewal point.
Yeah.
Having said that, the customer success people usually are more patient and have more access to data,
Mm-hmm.
which is not. And in the end, from a tool like us, we first need to get to a pipeline. So it is easier for us to control once you get access to your data from a customer success perspective. After that, you can put any kind of lens on top of that, PLG, or you can do pre-sales, you can do sales engineering or post-sales or marketing, you can do all kind of things. In fact, for many of our early customers who started customer success, they branched out into also doing product-led sales with us. They also do marketing with us. Let me give an example of marketing, which was very unique. Because we know your existing customers and we are predicting who are likely to retain and churn, we also do additional analysis on how your ICP looks like. And we basically said, if this is your ICP, let me create a lookalike set of audiences for you, which you can, which your marketing team can use to market them.
Yeah.
Because that is coming out of the only data where it is available is the customer success data.
Yeah. I mean, it's so true when you think about both sides of a bow tie. The customer success side is often the side that needs a lot of data. And so like a product like this makes a lot of sense to sell to them. But the sales and marketing side generates so much data that you just still have a lot of analysts using. I haven't seen, outside of some of the Tableau stuff that's come out in the agent side, you haven't seen a lot of this agent type work that you're talking about in the replacing BI analysts or revenue analysts and doing some of that month's worth of work to connect the dots.
No, you're right. You're right. I mean, see, ultimately, from a startup perspective, we don't want to boil the ocean.
Yeah.
Smart. The motivation for, the easier part of for a startup entry is where you have a major need and where you can enter easily. The problem with sales marketing word is it's so frothy, and they have while they can buy all kind of tools, they still don't have the use cases to go. Like, for example, product usage is not priority for either sales or marketing. It is a priority, however, for customer success team. So what happens is that for determining a good ICP or doing good analysis, it's easier to go to customer success route because those guys are struggling. They want they have a problem. They want a solution. So to get into any company, it's easier.
Yeah.
Getting into a sales guy, it takes months to just get attention of that guy, and then you say, okay, what's new about you? What's cool about you?
Well, and you're replacing people's jobs potentially instead of augmenting them. Like, right, there's not enough data analysts in the world for what CS wants to do. I feel like you have whole RevOps orgs that are built just around doing all this data analysis. So there's probably more sensitivity on that side.
I also think when you think about the problems you're solving and the current economic environment that we've been in over the last 3 years, you're solving and helping companies with churn, which has been, I know, especially in the tech space, a huge issue. And so you're kind of hitting the market at a really good time as well.
I mean, so here is, you made me think about it because I give a careful answer, not for a kind of trying to be politically correct, but that was my thesis 6 months back, from a churn perspective. But what I've been usually surprised is that people are buying us for more productivity reason than the churn reason.
Interesting.
What is happening is that because of the zero interest rate phenomena for many, many years, it was easier to overstaff on the customer success side. And the problem was for many leaders was that they were not able to justify how many people you need. And there was a self-interest from a lot of customer success platform because they say that we will create playbook will create tasks. So for every 3,000 tasks, you need to hire one person. So it was a self-inflicting wound kind of a thing. Like, you implement a CS, it creates more tasks, you hire more people. And then the thesis was that for every $2-3 million, you need a customer success person, something like that. Now what happens is post-COVID, when the interest rate rose up, the thing was that Why do you need so many people? What is the productivity? Everybody has started to talk about that. So fundamentally, the way the model has changed is that people expect you to do more with less, have a more dollar impact rather than task impact. It is not a cost thing. You have to be revenue focused. So when you show them that you can do let's say you can manage 100 customers rather than 50 per CSM, that is what makes sense to them, because that is what the leaders can take to their executive and get approval for that. See, churn is something you will only measure at the end of the year, whether it had an impact or not.
Like a
Productivity you
leading
can measure
indicator
in
versus
first
a
to 3 months.
lagging indicator. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So it's very interesting how the budgeting is being done and what is getting approved for what reason.
I think this was one of our predictions at the beginning of the year, Kel.
I think it was
one of our first episodes, that you'll start to see boards ask for productivity stats to justify spend on AI-based tools, because you really should be seeing it. And so I think spot on. I mean, I'm obviously, like I said, I perused the website, and the churn part sticks out, right? We're always trying to solve that problem, but you hit the nail on the head, like at the direction of improving productivity, right? We want to maintain or lessen churn while increasing productivity. Both of those have to happen simultaneously. I don't think there are many companies out there that can afford to decrease productivity just to have like better churn numbers. So yeah, it is both.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's for a lot of people, it's not easy to even convince themselves or they have a churn problem. Even if they have, they don't go out for tool because they have to accept that fact and they don't like it. Having said that, so we actually created an AI ROI calculator on our website. So because of the same reason, where people can just put in numbers and start to kind of have an estimate of why they should get a tool and what they can do about it, so that they can make the case. As you rightly said, productivity is becoming a main driver even in that calculation, what we are seeing.
We promised our listeners that we would put you in the hot seat. So we have one tough question headed your way, which is, if we were to call up a couple of your customers, what is the biggest complaint they would have about Funnel Story, if any?
That's an interesting question. What would the complaint they would have with Funnel Story? Like, they might complain that we are expensive.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, good things don't come for cheap.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. That's a good answer.
Having said that, to everybody, we will justify our price.
Yes.
I feel like I've been part of one long sales call so far.
I know. That's kind of the point here.
Yeah. No, it is. It is. It's good. This is a great conversation. It's super interesting to hear how we think of a lot of times as AI as this big, like, singular thing that's happening, but the way that you think about how agents are changing all of that, and the different way that you can deploy agents that you're using to do these specific tasks, and think about it from, moving and, horses to your first Ford to, like, cars today is a really interesting comparison, especially because in the AI world, all of that has happened in the span of 3 years.
Yeah.
By the way, that's what I say too in most of my demo calls. I say that I am not comparing with your CS platform. If you want to like your tool, be my guest and you can stay with that. I am not even trying to replace that. I am trying to work with a leader who basically is trying to think about a new paradigm, because most of the innovations are driven by, I always say innovation is a partnership. I can bring a tool, but you on the other side, a leader, you also need to think about the future world, because you have to change the world along with me. It's a partnership between you and me. If you're not thinking, I'm not trying to sell you. I can become a partner for you, but you have to think that how you're going to change the world, and I would be a partner and I will create the tools that can help you do that. I'm not going to fight your battle in your organization. You have to do that job.
Yeah, I think it's a good call to action for anyone listening. Like, are you challenging yourself to shift the paradigm? Or are you going to get left behind? Like, we're crossing chasms left and right now in the AI world. And you really have to, especially when you're used to the tools you've worked with for 5, 10, 15 years, like, really force yourself to think about, am I using the right thing, thinking about these problems the right way now?
Okay, so if our listeners are interested, want to learn more about Funnel Story, what's the best way to connect?
So yeah, on our website, I think the two ways we say that you can talk to us. If once you send a talk to us, if the information goes to me, I will send you my Calendly link. You can basically just set up a time and I will do a demo for you. Actually, I don't do a demo for you. I make you demo the product by yourself. So you will open your browser window, you will sign up, and I will walk you through how you will do it. And I tell them, when I say this product can be configured in 45 minutes, you will experience for yourself in less than 36 minutes, you would have configured and started using the product. I promise you that. I back my claims and I make you do that.
Right.
I like that sales technique. That's amazing.
It's good.
So that's what we do. Or you can start yourself on the site. So that's how we do it. We believe, see, in the end, I'm not coming from a sales background. I'm coming from a product background. My sales guys used to take me to the calls because they know that if I say something, I have to back my claim with actual something in the product. So that's my training, and that's my team's training.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, get right to it.
Thank you.
Well, this was amazing. Thank you for joining us. So glad to learn more about Funnel Story, and so glad and thank you for taking the time to join us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you, Kelly. And thank you for inviting me. And thanks for all the great questions that you asked. I thank you for this.
Until next time. If you're enjoying the Revenue Insiders, we'd love your support. Follow us, rate, and leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. Your feedback helps us grow and reach more listeners